Their adventure with the labourer and the bottler. They hadn't gone very far when the saucepan began to yawn. So sleepy, he said, and it really must be very late. What about getting underneath a bush and going to sleep till morning? The brownies thought it would be a very good idea, so they all cuddled together beneath a bush and went fast asleep till the sun rose. Wake up, cried Hop. It's time to go on our way to Witchland and rescue the Princess Perenelle. The others woke with a jump. They washed in the nearby stream, picked some blackberries for breakfast, and went on towards the signpost. Suddenly there came over them a great black shadow. Yelled the saucepan in terror. It's the dragon bird again! Run! The brownies ran helter-skelter to some bushes. The black shadow grew darker. The dragon bird landed on the ground by them with a thud. Where is my master? Where is my master? It cried in a croaking voice. We've said a magic word and made him vanish forever, shouted Hop bravely. And if you don't leave us alone, we'll make you vanish too, you horrid dragon bird. No, shrieked the bird. Oh, most powerful wizard, let me serve you. Now that my master, the golden dwarf, is gone, let me be your slave. Gracious, said Hop. Here's a to-do. Goodness knows we don't want a dragon bird always at our heels, begging to be our slave. The saucepan, who seemed to hear the dragon bird quite well, crawled out from under his bush and walked up to it. Go away, he said. If we want you to come, we will call you. Don't come bothering us now, or we will make you disappear as we did your master. I will come if ever you want me, croaked the bird sadly. I will await that time. It spread its wings, rose into the air, and in a few moments was out of sight. That was a rather nasty shock, said Hop. I quite thought it would take us all away again. I hope we never see the ugly thing any more. So do we, said Skip and Jump. Come on, said the saucepan, and once more the four set off to the signpost. At last they reached it and set off down the road towards Witchland. Don't you bother to come with us, said Hop to the saucepan. We can find our way quite well now. No, I can't hear any bell, said the saucepan, standing still to listen. You must be mistaken. Oh dear, you are deaf, sighed Hop, and quickly wrote down what he had to say. Ho, ho, laughed the saucepan. So you think you could find the way by yourself, do you? Oh, you just follow me and you'll soon see you couldn't find the way alone. No sooner has he said that than the four travellers came to a river. Over it stretched a graceful bridge, but to the brownie's surprise, no sooner did they get near it than the end nearest to them raised itself and stayed there. How annoying of it, said Hop in surprise. What does it do that for? We can't get across. Don't worry, said the saucepan. He looked about in the ground and picked up 4 tiny blue stones. He threw them into the river one after the other, saying a magic word at each of them. At once the end of the bridge came down safely again and rested on the bank. There you are, said the saucepan. Now we can cross. The brownies ran across quickly, just in case the bridge took it into its head to do anything funny again. They hadn't gone very far beyond the bridge before they came to a forest so dark and so thick that the brownies felt sure they couldn't possibly get through it. They tried this way and that way, but it was all no good. They couldn't find a path. The saucepan watched them laughing. Then he quickly ran to a big white stone lying nearby and lifted it up. Underneath it lay a coil of silver string. The saucepan took it up and tied one end to a tree trunk. Then he said a magic rhyme, and immediately, to the brownies' tremendous surprise, the spring uncoiled and went sliding away all by itself into the dark forest. Follow it quickly, cried the saucepan and ran into the forest. The silver string gleamed through the bushes and trees and led the brownies by a hidden narrow path through the dark forest. On and on they went, following the silver thread, until at last they reached the end of the trees and stood in sunshine once more. I don't know what she would do without you, shouted Hop to the saucepan. We should never have known the way. Who's making hay? Asked the saucepan, staring all about him. No one, shouted Hop, and wrote in his notebook to tell the saucepan what he was talking about. Presently they set off again. In the distance they saw an enormous hill. As they drew nearer, the brownie saw it gleaming and glittering as if it were made of ice. "Glass," explained the sauceman as they drew nearer. "I wonder how we get up that," said Hop. The brownies tried to climb it, but as fast as they tried, down they came kerplunk to the bottom. "Tell us how to get up," Hop wrote in his notebook to the sauceman. Their guide smiled. He took 6 paces to the left, picked up a yellow stone and aimed it carefully at a notch in the glass hill. Directly it struck the notch, the door slid open in the hillside and the brownies saw a passage leading through the glass hill. "It's easier to go through than up," smiled the sauceman, leading the way. The passage was very queer, for it wound about like a river. The sides, top and bottom, were all glass and reflected everything so perfectly that the brownies kept walking into the walls and bumping their noses. They were very glad when at last they came out at the other side of the hill. In front of them towered a great gate, and on it was written in iron lettering, "Witchland." "At last," said Hop, "now we really have arrived." "Here I must leave you," said the sauceman sadly. "I cannot go in, and I don't know how you'll get in either, but you're so clever that maybe you'll find a way. Now I must go back and make some more saucepans to sell." "Thank you for bringing us here," wrote Hop in his notebook. "We're sorry to say goodbye." "So am I," said the sauceman with tears in his eyes. "Thank you very much for all your goodness to me in rescuing me from the golden dwarf." "Don't mention it," said the brownies politely. Then the sauceman shook hands solemnly with them all and said goodbye. "Goodbye," called the brownies as he went towards the glass hill. He turned round. "What sort of pie?" he called in surprise. "Oh, buttons and buttercups, isn't he deaf?" said Hop, and waved to the sauceman to go on. They watched him disappear into the hill. "Nice old sauceman," said Skip. "Wish he was coming to Witchland with us." "I wonder how we get in," said Hop, looking at the tall gates. "Don't worry," said Skip. "We'd better wait until someone goes in or out and then try and slip in as the gates open. Let's sit down under this may tree and wait." They sat down and waited. Nobody went in or out of the gates. The brownies felt very bored. Hop looked all around to see if anyone was in sight. He suddenly saw something in the distance. "Look," he said, "there's a procession or something coming. We could easily slip in with that when the gates go open for it, couldn't we?" "Yeah," said Jump. "Let's wait quietly and then try our luck." The procession came nearer. At the same time, there came somebody from the opposite direction. Skip looked to see who it was. "It's a little brown mouse," he said in surprise. "I wonder what a mouse is doing here. He seems to be carrying a heavy sack. Look." The others looked. The little mouse was certainly carrying a sack that seemed far too heavy for him. The procession and the mouse reached the place where the brownie sat, just at the same moment. The procession was made up of all sorts of queer people, carrying precious rugs, caskets, plants. "Going in to sell them to the witches, I suppose," whispered Hop. "Look, the gates are opening. Get ready to slip inside." But just at that moment, the mouse gave a shrill squeak. The brownies looked round. They saw that the sack had fallen off the little mouse's back, and that hundreds of green labels were flying about all over the place. Oh, what shall I do?" squeaked the mouse. "I shall be late, I know I shall." The brownies jumped up. "Let us help you pick them up," said Hop. "It won't take us a minute." "We must hurry though," said Skip, "or we shan't get in whilst the gates are open." The brownies quickly picked up the labels and filled the mouse's sack again. He was very grateful indeed. "Don't mention it," said Hop, and turned to the gates of Witchland. Clang! They shut, for the last of the queer procession had gone in. "Oh my," said Hop in dismay. "Now we've lost our chance." The little mouse looked very upset. "Did you want to get in?" he asked. "Yeah," said Hop, "but it doesn't matter. We'll wait till someone else wants to go in again and the gates open for them." "I wish we could find something to eat," sighed Skip. "I'm getting so dreadfully hungry." "Won't you come home with me for a while?" asked the little mouse. "I'm sure my master, the labeller, would give you something to eat, as you've been so kind in helping me." "Well, thank you very much," said Hop. "But what a funny name your master has, the labeller. Whatever does he label?" Oh, whenever people are cross patches or spiteful or horrid in any way, said the mouse, they're taken to the labeller, and he puts a label round their neck that they can't get off. Then everybody knows what sort of person they are, and if they're very nasty, people avoid them as much as they can. That seems quite a good idea, said Skip, as the brownies followed the mouse down a pathway. Do they have to wear the labels all their lives? That depends, said the mouse, trotting down a hole in the bank. You see, directly they stop being horrid, their label flies off and goes back to the labeller. If they go on being horrid for the rest of their lives, the label never flies off. I say, the labeller won't label us, will he? Asked Hop anxiously, as they all trotted down the hole after the mouse. Oh no, said the mouse, you're not horrid at all, you're very nice. The passage was lighted with orange lights, and beneath every light was a little door, and each door had a nameplate on it, and the brownies read them as they passed by. Here's a funny one, said Hop. The bottle, I wonder what he bottles. Oh, and here's the labeller, said Skip. The mouse is going inside. They followed him and found themselves in a cosy little room where a bright fire was burning. By a little table sat a fat old man with spectacles on. He was printing names on labels in very small and beautiful letters. Come in, all of you, he said in a kind voice. I don't know who you are, but you're very welcome. The brownie said good day politely and told him who they were. Where do you come from? He asked. Brownie Town, they answered. Well, what are you doing here then? Asked the labeller in surprise. The brownies went very red. Nobody spoke for a minute, and then Hop told the labeller all about the naughty trick they played at the king's party, and how the princess had been spirited away. Dear, 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 said the labeller, that was a very silly thing to do. Perhaps I'd better label you all silly, had I? No, thank you, said the brownies quickly. We aren't silly any more. We're sorry for what we did, and we're trying to find the princess and rescue her. The labeller got out some buns and told the little mouse to make some milk hot. Sit down, he said, and have something to eat. I'm sure it was very kind of you to help my little servant to pick up all the labels he dropped. The brownies each took a bun and said thank you. And when are you going back to Brownie Town? Asked the labeller. When you've rescued the princess? No, answered Hop sadly, we can't. The king said we weren't to go back until we'd found our goodness, and people can't find their goodnesses, of course, so we're afraid we'll never be able to go back. But of course you can find your goodness if you've got any, said the labeller. Why, my brother, the bottler can easily give it to you if you've any that belongs to you. He bottles up all the goodness in the world, you know, and then, when anyone starts being peevish and grumpy, he seeks out his messenger, my mouse's cousin, to drop a little out of one of the bottles of goodness into something the peevish person is drinking. Then the grumpy person begins to smile again and thinks the world is a jolly old place after all. Dear me, said the brownies, in the greatest surprise. Is that really so? And do you mean to say that if we've done any good deeds, for instance, the bottler has got them boiled down and bottled up in a jar? Asked Skip in excitement. Bottles that we can take away? Oh, rather, said the labeller, taking another bun, with your own names on and everything. Well, if that isn't splendid, cried Hop in delight. Could we go and see if the bottle's got any of our goodness bottled up? Finish your milk and buns first, said the labeller, then you can go. The brownies finished their food and jumped up. Well, goodbye, said the labeller, shaking hands with them. The mouse will show you the right door. Good luck to you. And off went the brownies in a great state of excitement. They almost trod on the mouse's tail, they were in such a hurry. They came to the little door marked the bottler and knocked. Come in, said a voice. They went in and saw a room like the labeller's. It was full of thousands of bottles standing on hundreds of shelves. The bottler was very like the labeller, except that he was a good deal fatter. What can I do for you? He asked. Please, said Hop in a shaky voice, please, have you any goodness of ours bottled up? Who are you? Asked the bottler kindly. Hop, Skip and Jump, 3 brownies from Brownie Town, answered Hop. Let me see, said the bottler, putting a second pair of spectacles on. He walked up to a shelf labelled brownies and began peering at the bottles. The brownies waited impatiently. Oh, if only a bottle of their goodness could be found, they could all go back to Brownie Town. Ah, here we are, said the bottle at last, pouncing on a little yellow bottle. It had something written on the label that was stuck around it, and the bottler read it out. This goodness belongs to Hop, Skip and Jump. It was made when they rescued a mermaid from the castle of the Red Goblin. Oh, fancy, said Jump. I am glad we rescued Golden Hair. Dear me, here's another bottle too, said the bottler, and he picked up a little green bottle and read the label out. This goodness belongs to Hop, Skip and Jump. It was made when they helped a little girl to escape from the land of the clever people. Buttons and Buttercup, said Hop. That's 2 bottles to take back. And here's a 3rd bottle, suddenly said the bottler, and picked up a red bottle. This goodness belongs to Hop, Skip and Jump. It was made when they rescued the saucepan from the Golden Dwarf, read the bottler. How perfectly lovely, cried Jump. That's a bottle each. How glad I am that we did help these people when we had the chance. Here you are, said the bottler, handing them the bottles. Take care of them, for they'll take you safely back to Brownie Town. Now, goodbye. I'm glad to have been some use to you. Goodbye and thank you very much, called the brownies, and hurried out into the passage with their precious bottles. The little mouse was outside waiting for them. If you like, I'll show you a secret way to Witchland, he said. I'd be pleased to help you any way I could. Hop hugged the kind little mouse. Please show us, he said. He put his bottle into his pocket and followed the mouse up the passage. The mouse ran down passage after passage and at last went up a very steep one. This leads to a witch's house, he whispered. There's a big mouse hole that comes out into the cellar. You can squeeze through it. Thank you, said Hop. Tell me, little mouse, what witch lives here? Witch Green Eyes, whispered the mouse. Witch Green Eyes, said the brownies in surprise. Just the very witch we want. They said goodbye to the mouse, squeezed through the hole, found themselves in a dark, smelly cellar. Well, said Hop, now we'll soon see if we can't rescue Princess Perenelle. And the next chapter is their adventure in the house of Witch Green Eyes.